Good morning. Welcome this morning as we mark day 3 of our week of Interfaith Harmony here at Concordia College. We're so pleased to welcome Mark Bourdon into our midst this morning to share part of his journey and his tradition. Mark Bourdon will talk about the path of refuge as a white, Irish, French, Native American Buddhist. Many thanks as well to Dr. Michelle Lewicka and to her Religion and the Body class for welcoming us into the space this morning and for serving in leadership.
A reading from John, the 15th chapter. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friend.
A reading from Sutta Nipata, a Buddhist scripture. Just as a mother would protect her only child at the risk of her own life, even so, cultivate a boundless heart towards all beings. Let your thoughts of boundless love pervade the whole world.
Good morning. In Tibetan, it would be Tashe Dele, depending on what clan you came from. Many different pronunciations to that, but it would still come out to good morning. Thank you for having me here this morning. As you saw that today in the scriptures, is it started out with a Christian scripture, ended up with a Buddhist scripture to show the parallels between the two, the commonalities versus the differences. And that's what I hope to encompass today as we have this gathering together. So the Japanese poet Basho writes, between our two lives, there is also the life of the cherry blossom. The life of the cherry blossom represents the meeting between two parts of our lives, the internal and the external. And until these two lives are fully integrated, we only see glimpses of who we truly are, of all of our potential. Angela Arian states, to become radiant, the life of the cherry blossom by returning to our essential self. Well, I returned to my essential self. I returned home on January 30th of 2005 when I took my Buddhist vows and was given the name Girme Chauga, which stands for Unchanging Dharma Joy. I practice the Vajrayana paths of Mahamudra and Dokshin, which are the highest and most profound meditative teachings of the Kagyu and Nyingma schools of Tibetan Buddhists. So as I stand here today, I stand here really not representing the entire Buddhist community because there are different schools. I'm here as a Tibetan Buddhist. That's my home. That's who I am. That's where I came from. So the formal decision to become a Buddhist is marked by what's called a refuge ceremony, in which you take refuge in what's known as the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And really taking refuge is about how we're going to lead our lives. And the idea behind taking refuge is that when it starts to rain, we like to find a shelter. And the Buddhist shelter from the rain of problems and pain is threefold. It's the Buddha, it's the teachings, which are the Dharma, and the spiritual community, which is the Sangha. So Dharma is even what's happening today. Dharma is what's been happening all week. Dharma is right here. Teachings occur in every place at every time. So taking refuge means that we have some understanding about suffering, and we have confidence that the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, the three jewels, can help us. So when we take refuge in the Buddha, we mean the qualities of the Buddha that are already inherent within each of us. So we actually are taking refuge in our own intrinsic enlightenment. We discover the true nature of our mind. And we take Buddha as an example, not in a sense of being godlike. This is not a theistic situation where Buddha is better and we are worse, or he is the boss and we are his servants. In fact, Buddha is us. We are all Buddhas, but we have not yet recognized or realized the Buddha nature that already lies within each and every one of us. When we take refuge in the Dharma, we are not following some prescribed path. We really have to look inside our own mind, and the Dharma helps us to do that. The truth is constant, so the Dharma provides some stability for us. The Dharma acts as our protection. It protects our mind, and it protects our heart. And during our life, at each moment, what we're trying to do is actually blend both. Not to stay in our heart and mind, or heart or mind, but rather to combine the two and blend them on a day-to-day basis. And then we take refuge in the Sangha. The Sangha is the people who are on the path with us. And again, growing up in the Fargo-Moorhead community, and that's why, I feel like somewhat of an enigma, because as I was growing up, a Sangha didn't exist. And even as I was taking my refuge vows, it was hard to find a Sangha, a Tibetan Sangha that existed. So taking refuge does not mean that we take Buddha's words as the unquestionable truth. We always question the words of our teachers, the words of the Buddha. And we need to ask, is this real? Does this actually work? Does it make sense? Because the Buddha didn't say, I am here to save you. He said, you have the ability to make your situation better. You have all the capabilities that already lie within yourself, and now it's up to you. Ultimately, that is the truth, and that is the path, and that is the reason in which we take refuge. Now, it's said, and my teachers said this even at the time of taking refuge, that the Buddhist path can be lonely, and I certainly have felt that from time to time. When I initially began and finally took my vows, I discovered that this was not going to be an easy journey. I discovered that some of my friends quit calling, quit asking to get together. There were professional relationships that disappeared from my life, that quit calling me to present on topics they asked me to provide regularly in the past. I've had people pray for me in my presence that I may find my way back to the Christian path. But the Buddhist life is built on compassion and loving kindness, and as Albert Karma states, in the depth of winter, I learned that within me there lay an incredible summer, and that's why I stand before you today. Tibetan Buddhism recognizes that everyone has different capabilities, attitudes, predispositions, and that the Dharma can and should be adapted to these capabilities, to these attitudes, to these predispositions. It's why the Buddha provided his teachings in 84,000 different ways. Tibetan Buddhism also recognizes that there is no one church that we go to. There's no one service that everyone attends. There's no one set of prayers that everyone must say. And there's no one text that everyone treats as normative, or no deity, one deity that we practice. And fact is, there's a lot of misconceptions alone just on the word deity. The Dharma is extremely flexible, and if one finds that a particular practice leads to the diminishment of negative emotions, greater peace and happiness, increased compassion and wisdom, this, in fact, is the Dharma, and we should follow this path. The Dalai Lama, who I was privileged to be able to spend 5 days with, even states that one may practice the Dharma by following teachings and practices of non-Buddhist traditions such as Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism. And if one belongs to one of these traditions, and if one's religious practices leads to the spiritual advancement, the Dalai Lama counsels that one should keep at it, since this is the goal of all religious practices. Ultimately, Buddhists are asked if we believe in God. And this is one topic, this is one piece that the Buddha actually remained silent on when he was asked the question. So my personal answer is, if there is a God, he will accept me into his kingdom, because I'm doing the right thing for the right reasons. If there is no God, I'm doing the right thing for the right reasons. But the answer of Reverend Chikwan Sinam, an ordained Korean Zen Buddhist monk, said, the greatest meditation is the mind that can just let go. And when we're in prayer, we have that opportunity to let go. And so for a Christian, that's a time when God enters. For a Buddhist, that's a time when we can discover the true nature of our mind, the true essence of our being. That's when we discover Buddha nature. As stated earlier, and in the scriptures, the Buddhist scriptures, Buddhism is based on compassion and loving kindness. The Buddha showed that our own individual happiness is directly connected to our care and for the welfare of all living beings, and that we are all interdependent, truly dependent on one another. And as we begin to put this understanding into action in our lives, we create conditions for the happiness of others as well as for ourselves. To love so completely with all our whole hearts and our minds, with all of our strength, is to love without discrimination towards ourselves and towards others. In fact, my teacher and Rit Guru Mingyur Rinpoche states, great love and compassion are innate qualities of our being. All the thoughts, destructive emotions, and suffering we encounter are, in essence, completely permeated by vast compassion. So to practice that compassion, where do we find it? And that's going to be what our reflection is today. And it's a metta practice. And so when we talk about metta, we're talking about loving kindness. It's a term that means loving kindness, but it also means friendliness, benevolence, amity, friendship. So with every phrase that you see in reflections, we are declaring our alignment with these phrases, with these terms, with these values, as well as cultivating an equality of loving feelings towards ourselves, towards our loved ones, for those we have difficulty with, and then for everyone around us and outside of us. We form the intention in our mind for happiness and the happiness of all beings. And this is different from struggling to fabricate a certain feeling, to create it out of will, to make it happen. We just settle back, we plant the seeds without worrying about the immediate results. And living in a result-oriented community, we're constantly saying, How do I know if this is working? How does this exactly work? How will I know if the outcome or the goals or the objectives are achieved? And all you have to do is sit. Sit with yourself. Sit with your intention. Sit with your aspiration that you find peace, that your loved one find peace, that your difficult one find peace, and that those all around us and throughout this campus and this community in the world, in fact, find that peace and that happiness. That's our work. And if we do our work, the benefits will occur. From a Buddhist point of view, from a Tibetan Buddhist point of view, in this lifetime and in future lifetimes, because they've always already occurred in past lifetimes. The interesting thing that I learned in preparing for today, and that I actually didn't know, and it was fun to do this, was that the Buddha characteristically was very precise about what those benefits of metta would be. And he said that intimacy and caring that fills our heart of loving kindness will develop 11 particular advantages. You'll sleep easier, you'll wake easier, you will have pleasant dreams, people will love you, celestial beings and animals will love you, celestial beings will protect you, external dangers such as poisons and weapons and fire will not harm you, your face will be radiant, your mind will be serene, you will die unconfused, and you will be reborn in happy realms. Why wouldn't you want to practice that? So, as we go through this metta, is first practice towards oneself, and we do that because often it's easier to love others than to love ourselves. So today we begin by loving ourselves first. And then we move to someone, a friend, somebody that we care for, somebody that we love. And then we move for the difficult one, although that's where I started. But we move to the difficult one as the third, because if you practiced for yourself and you practiced for someone you love, that becomes a little bit easier. And then we practice for all beings. So what I'd like all of you to do is just kind of sit, put your feet on the ground, put your hands on your thighs. Close your eyes. Take 2 or 3 deep breaths with slow, long, complete exhalations. Letting go of all concerns and preoccupations. Letting your mind be present right at this moment. Feeling and picturing the breath moving through the center of your chest, which is your heart area, and radiating out on your out-breath. As you listen to me repeat the reflections, the metta. Don't sit with it with your head and try to figure it out. Visualize the statement and radiate it out. Radiate it in. Fill your body full. May I be peaceful. May I be happy. May I be safe from harm, both inner and outer. May I be well in mind and body. May I awaken to the light of my true nature. May I be free. May my loved one, and when you're thinking of a loved one, think of somebody very close to you that you feel strongly about, and you can put their name in there. When my loved one be peaceful. May my loved one be happy. May my loved one be safe from harm, both inner and outer. May my loved one be well in mind and body. May my loved one be awakened to the light of their true nature. May my loved one be free. Now think of the one that you've had a struggle with, or you've had a conflict with, or that when you're in their presence you find yourself tensing, or someone that's caused harm to you or somebody close to you. This is your difficult one. May my difficult one be peaceful. May my difficult one be happy. May my difficult one be safe from harm, both inner and outer. May my difficult one be well in mind and body. May my difficult one be awakened to the light of their true nature. May my difficult one be free. Now generating out to the room, to the hallways, to the campus, to the community, to the world. May all beings everywhere be peaceful. May all beings everywhere be happy. May all beings everywhere be safe from harm, both inner and outer. May all beings everywhere be well in mind and body. May all beings everywhere be awakened to the light of their true nature. May all beings everywhere be free. Now you can open your eyes. So before I say the closing prayer, the question is, do Buddhists pray? And the answer is yes, we do. Prayers are a way of guiding our thoughts, of setting our thoughts, and setting and guiding the energy in certain directions. And they're techniques that help us actually transform our mind. So by repeatedly thinking of a meaning of what we are saying or reading, we train and we familiarize ourselves in a way of how we regard and relate to ourselves and to others. The prayers we say also are a testing ground that shows us which qualities are firm within us and which ones still need to be developed in our daily life with all of its various activities. Thus, for a person dedicated to developing his or her Buddha potential, prayers and activities of daily life go hand in hand. They complement each other. So at the end of every teaching, at the end of every practice, we close it by what's called a dedication of merit. So here's the prayer today. Through the virtues I have collected by practicing the stages of the path, may all living beings find the opportunity to practice in the same way. May everyone experience the happiness of humans and gods and quickly attain enlightenment so that samsara is finally extinguished. Thank you.